curiosity why.
Mad Bricks webcast,
Where the human spirit flies. Mad Bricks webcast, where the human spirit flies.
Hey, welcome to the Medbix webcast. This is Raman Raju. I'm the host, and we have a very interesting program today. Very interesting, even a special, very personal to me. This program, actually, tell you, as a student of physics, and understand, spare knowledge of medicine. I love this upcoming guest for us. But before that, so I'm in Los Gatos, is one of the Silicon Valley suburbs. I'm different place than normal place. But let me introduce you, my friend, good supporter, is a emotionally the beautiful, blonde, brainy, and also wonderful person inside outside. My co-host, Dr. Susan Davis. Welcome,
Hello.
welcome, Susan. So, what
Good
have you been
evening.
up to? Florida
Oh,
sun is burning you.
no, just doing, normal redneck things.
You
Ramana, you know,
don't
cow
need
tipping, moonshine drinking, gator wrestling, just the normal afternoon stuff here. Of course, I'm on the west coast of Florida, not like our guest who has spent a lot of time of his career in the other coast, the Space Coast. So very exciting to be here in Florida with a guest who knows so much about the Space Coast.
as
And
long
I'm
as
not sure
there,
that he has
as,
spent his time wrestling gators.
as long as there is no hurricane, you're not flying, safe and good. You're
Safe and
joining
good.
from Fort Myers, Florida. That's I've been there. I don't think they have the best steak. You need to go to Texas, where Dr. Rogers is, to eat a better steak.
Pshaw.
Again, let me introduce you, our distinguished guest. I tell you that I am one of the fan of him. In fact, I watched him he was in the beginning, he was hesitant to come on the show. But I told him I'm a very open-minded person, and we are. Susan is also open-minded. That's our program demonstrate that. Is all possibilities exist in my view, and the quantum physics says that. So that's my philosophy. So let me introduce you. Today we have the privilege of hosting someone whose career has been at the intersection of medicine, aerospace, and some of the most demanding human endeavors ever undertaken. Dr. Gregory Rogers is a retired U.S. Air Force Chief of Aerospace Medicine and former NASA senior flight surgeon. During his distinguished career, he supported 31 space shuttle missions. 31, Susan. Served as the Chief of Aerospace Medicine at Cape Canaveral, is not that far from Susan, and was responsible to protecting the health and the performance of astronauts and pilots and other primarily personnel operating in some of the most extreme environments in the imaginable. For most physicians, medicine is practiced within the boundaries of Earth. Dr. Rogers practiced in medicine where every physiological decision could determine the success of mission and potentially the survival of the crew. That's a huge responsibility in my view.
I'd say.
Nine, we all begin by exploring the fascinating world of aerospace medicine, how physicians prepare humans for space flight, how the human body behave in extreme environments. He was talking about it actually about that, and what lessons space medicine continues to teach us here on Earth. Then we will transition to a topic that has generated a worldwide curiosity. Dr. Rogers' own first-hand observations during the years at Cape Canaveral, and how these experiences have shaped his perspective about the everything about the universe itself. Dr. Rogers, welcome to the MedBix webcast. I'm truly honored to have you. Welcome,
I'm very glad to be here.
Good
welcome.
evening, Dr. Rogers.
Good evening. I've been looking forward to this.
Dr. Rogers, tell us a little bit of where you were born. Give me your background. Where were you born, and how did you end up in from Florida to Texas? Just give us a brief journey of your career. Where did you go to medical school? All those things, a little bit.
Okay, well, I went to medical school in Oklahoma because I was born there. Even though I'm in Texas now, I'm just visiting. I actually live in McAllister, Oklahoma. So I was born at Ada, which is not far from there. So I traveled all over the world to get close to where I was born. After medical school, I went into the military, had service in West Germany during the Cold War days, down at Cape Canaveral and the 45th Space Wing, Patrick Air Force Base, and the Eastern Space and Missile Center. Ended my career at Vance Air Force Base up in Enid, Oklahoma, after flying attack helicopters, F-16s, T-38s. I even drove a nuclear submarine around underwater.
Woo!
Yeah, it was. They told me when we flip this switch, you'll be in complete control of the submarine. But don't worry, it's only 85 souls on board and $1.7 billion that the vessel cost. So I tell people these days, I drive something a little less expensive.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. That is the biggest insurance you can have. Dr. Rogers, then you became a flight surgeon. What is actually, a lot of people, even the physicians, may not know what is the flight surgeons do, Chief of Aerospace Medicine do. What exactly? How do you select astronauts, or what are the functions in general when you get up in the morning? What is the chief surgeon or flight surgeon does? What is their job?
Okay. The term flight surgeon actually starts with aviation. So when we started having pilots that were flying in the air, we needed special doctors to take care of them. So the term surgeon was always designated in the military. If you think of the Surgeon General, that's a military term. And so when we had flight doctors that were taking care of them, they were called flight medicine, aerospace medicine, or flight surgeons. So every unit that has aerospace assets, whether it's helicopters, attack helicopters, attack F-16s, F-22s, F-35s, if it's a B-52 bomber wing, the pilots are taken care of by their flight surgeons. And so the flight surgeons do their physicals, they take care of their health problems, but we're specially trained in the environment of what our patients do. So if you're a flight surgeon for an F-16 wing, you fly an F-16 so that you know what the situation is that they're going into. If you are in attack helicopters, you're going to be taught how helicopters work and what the stresses are. Let me give you an example. One time, this doctor had come and visited me and wanted to know, all about being a flight surgeon. And so he was a family practice doctor, and it was a Monday morning. And one of our pilots came in and said, well, I got hurt playing football yesterday, but it's still okay. I can handle the cyclic and collective. And so I don't need to be grounded. I said, well, what are your limitations? He said, well, I can only raise my arm to this level. I said, well, you're already grounded, so don't worry about that. So let's get on with the rest of it. And so after he left, the doctor that was visiting me said, he said he could handle the controls. Why did you say he's automatically grounded? I said, well, he flies a UH-1 Huey. During the engine start sequence, fuel can form in the turbine engine and settle there. And if it catches fire, there's a fuel cutoff switch right up here.
Ah,
If he can't reach that fuel cutoff switch, his aircraft catches fire, we lose the aircraft and possibly the crew. So as soon as I knew he couldn't reach the fuel cutoff switch, he was grounded. And he said, "How did you know that?" I said, "Because I've flown UH-1 Hueys and I've gone through all of the pre-start checklist." So that's what flight surgeons do. Now, then when you take care of astronauts, you have to get very specialized training because of the spacecraft they're in and all of the environment they're going to work within. So I had to get NASA certification. I went through training with the Air Force at Cape Canaveral for space operations. In fact, I was one of the last doctors to receive the space operations badge because when they recognized that I had received mine, they said, "Hold it, he's not a missileer. He's not supposed to get one of those." But there had been a precedent of giving space operations badges to the flight surgeons at Cape Canaveral. So after they did mine, they put a little clause in there not to be given to flight surgeons.
Just fascinating. Who would have ever thought, Romana, that Dr. Rogers would have to mimic the work of the people, of his patients, the people his care? Wow. I mean, so when you were in space, I'm just instantly thinking of this training. You did this, I'm guessing, centrifuge. Did you have to do?
Yeah, I've been through the centrifuge. I've been through zero-G training. I've been through 3 different kinds of water survival course. If you have to bail out of an aircraft, if you have to eject, if a helicopter crashes, there's what we call the helo dunker. And so it was run by the Navy, but they have this big drum and they had the exit on the right side the way it would be. And then they had windows. And so the first time they drop you into this and it rolls over, you have to find your way out and just get to the surface. The second time they do it, you have to go out the exit of the right-hand door. If you go out another exit, you do it again. So you have to find your way to the exit, because if your helicopter crashes, you've got to find a way to get out or you're going to go down with the aircraft. Well, then to simulate night flights and training, the third time we had blinders put on. And so they dropped us and you could find any exit and get out. And then the fourth time we had blindfolds on, but we had to go out the cabin crew door correctly, or you do it again. It sounds awful, but it was actually kind of fun. And so I enjoyed that.
you know, how much is important is that John F. Kennedy Jr. died. Orientation, is that?
Yes, well, he
issue?
wasn't cleared for instrument flight rules, and so he got disoriented. And so he actually entered what we know as a death spiral. As you're turning in turbulence, you can assume an attitude that is not level. And so you have to trust your instruments because it feels like you're straight and level. But when you're in a bank for a while, that seems like you're in level flight. But what you do is you just slowly spiral down until you impact the surface below you, whether it's ocean or land. And he went into a death spiral because he wasn't flying instrument flight rules. But he wasn't really trained to do that. But he flew into weather that really was beyond his capability.
My goodness.
So I wanted to ask you let me change a little bit of topic. Being a subject, the aerospace medicine doctor, you have to check and verify. A lot of applicants apply for astronaut jobs. So how do you eliminate what conditions definitely you don't take it? What conditions you take inside? These are qualified people. Is there any strict rules or some judgment in there involved? What kind of tools you have to judge somebody is a good astronaut or is not going to be good?
Well, all of the medical testing we do has one primary purpose. We want to assure that if we spend $6 or $8 million training this person, that when they are called upon, whenever they're getting ready to fly, whenever they're in a flight operation, that they are not going to have a medical problem that proves that they can't do the job. Even with Deke Slayton, who was one of the early astronauts, they checked and rechecked so many things that were totally useless, but they didn't know what to look for. But they cleared him to be an astronaut, and it turned out that he developed a medical problem concerning his heartbeats. And so even though they had done all of these studies to try to make sure that he was as perfect as he can be, it slipped through the cracks. You know, if you remember the story of Apollo 13, they had to change crew because of an exposure to a virus that one of the crew members had never had and had no immunity to. So they said, well, we're not going to put you on a spacecraft and launch you to the moon, and halfway to the moon, you come down with this virus. So even though we try to be fastidious, we can never truly prepare for everything. So there will be things that always surprise us.
You know, Doctor, yeah, go ahead, Susan. You have any questions? Please.
Well, I mean, my brain's just going to the physiology. So obviously these are, if possible, specimens before they're getting to, you know, leave
Yes.
our atmosphere here. They're in pretty good shape. What, I mean, I know when we have some recent research to compare to where we're headed here physiologically in space. I guess my question is, what are the normal functions that we're going to expect to, what are we watching first? You mentioned, you know, cardiac. So I know muscle wasting and maybe bone density, but what physiological parameters are we anticipating on short journeys versus longer times in space?
Great
Well,
question.
anytime you go into space, one of the first things that's going to happen is space adaptation syndrome or space motion sickness. About 2/3 of the astronauts will have some degree of it. Some of them will last for several days. Now, needless to say, when you're in a microgravity environment and everything, you know, people say there's no gravity, but it's microgravity. Anything that might be ejected from the stomach, you've got to clean up because it's going to be floating around for the rest of the mission. So you can't wipe it because as soon as you touch it, it just floats off. So you have to get this little handy vac thing and vacuum the air. And so there's a lot of different things. It's when we're on Earth, the blood rushes to our feet because of the force of gravity. So our legs have to squeeze the blood to get it back up to that upper half of the body. Well, when we go into space, the legs don't know any different, so they continue to do that. But against microgravity, they don't need to do that. So what happens is you'll get swelling up of the upper half of the body. The face will swell, the nasal passages swell. It's hard to taste food properly. Unfortunately, astronauts snore badly. There was one astronaut that snored so badly that when they came back, it was in the space shuttle, and so everybody was sleeping on the mid deck. They made him sleep up on the flight deck, but through the interdeck expressway, they could still hear him snoring so much that it broke crew rest for everyone else. And so when they landed, they said, "Sorry, but you're not going to be able to fly anymore unless you get a soft palate revision and maybe get rid of those adenoids." And so he had the surgery. His wife thanked NASA tremendously. But when he went back up into space, he still snored so loudly that it bothered everybody. So he was told when he came down, "You'll never be able to fly again because you snore too much."
Dr.
So there's all kinds of things that go on.
Vision changes. I mean, there must be all kinds of the little things, much less the major physiology.
Well, I have said this to people many times. I've never said it on a podcast or any sort of public setting like that. But females have materials on the upper half of their body. And so they need to take up Earth bras and space bras because there is enlargement of these materials. One lady was really funny, a mission specialist, just as funny as could be. She took a bikini top up, and so she had pictures taken of her in space in this bikini. And so when she came back down, she said, "Well, see, this is what I really look like."
It's so funny. I love it. But again, these are the little things. We're not even getting into the thought of, oh, maybe we're headed to Mars and maybe we're going to be living in space and what happens chronically living in microgravity. But right now I'll keep the image of the bikini that works.
Well,
But
for,
that's amazing.
for some of the women, it was actually uncomfortable.
I
Yeah.
bet.
Now, another thing that happens is that without the force of gravity pushing you down, your intervertebral discs will tend to swell. Well, people will get taller in space, but if they swell too much, it can actually cause a lot of backache because the vertebrae are normally getting squished. Well, when they expand, it stretches the ligaments, and so they'll get back pain, and sometimes it can be pretty uncomfortable. So when they come back to Earth and the gravity compresses the spinal cord again, that pain goes away. But there's also Earth adaptation, because after you've been in space for a while, when you come back to Earth, it's very strange, and it can. If you've been up for very long, 6 months or more, it can even be a few days before you're starting to walk normal.
Dr. Rogers, you made an excellent point. Female the physiology is different in the space than male physiology. Interesting. I didn't know that. But one thing is, you told me this before the talk, before you came on the camera. One thing struck me very, very much. When you go to the space, he said that you don't get sick, you don't get unexpected surgeries or something like that because you don't have the viruses there. There is some protection there for the major catastrophes. Tell us a little bit about that.
Oh, okay. Well, there's a lot of things that can go wrong in space. The one point I was making, that if there was an Ebola outbreak or you were in space when COVID-19 broke out, until someone comes up to your spacecraft, the International Space Station, you can't be exposed to COVID because COVID doesn't jump from the surface of the Earth inside the International Space Station. And so until somebody sends up a resupply kit that might have the virus on it, you're protected.
You're good.
So whatever breaks out on Earth, it's not going to reach your spacecraft. But there are all kinds of things that can happen to you when you're in space. So I in no way mean to identify that being in space is safe for the astronauts. They're under constant danger. If they're on a spacewalk and a micrometeorite punches through the layers of the spacesuit, it will begin to deflate, and you have just a few seconds to a minute or two to get back inside the spacecraft, or you're going to die.
Dr. Rogers, I would imagine, I mean, you're not up there with them. The flight surgeon's not up there with them. So if one of the astronauts has a, pretty significant emergency, are the other astronauts trained medically enough to handle?
We always keep a doctor up there.
Oh, okay.
So sometimes two doctors, and so they can help do the immediate things to take care of it. But at mission control, one of the things people don't know is that in the back right portion of the room, there's a flight surgeon. If you listen to the calls before launch, they will say, FIDO, ECOMS, all of this stuff. And the last person they get to is surgeon. And so the surgeon has to say, go. If the surgeon sees something abnormal in the crew before launch, the flight surgeon can say, we're going to have to go into a hold. I'm seeing cardiac dysrhythmia on astronaut number 3. And so that shuts the whole thing down. So the flight surgeon is always in mission control. They have private communications so that if an astronaut is having a problem, they can get a private line to talk to the flight surgeon and get a heads up on what do I do about this. So even though the flight surgeon isn't in space, They have a private line to tell them, okay, here's what we've got available. So the flight surgeon, at Mission Control understands all of the medicines that are up there, all of the bandages, all of the capabilities. So is this something we can handle? And if not, are we going to have to put the person in a spacecraft and bring them back to Earth because of that medical condition?
But Rogers, what are the common complaints from astronauts? Pain on the earth, pain, cough, cold. These are all complaints. What are the common complaints you get from the astronauts from space?
Um, uh, Various pains that can occur when you're in microgravity. One thing that people don't think about, but when astronauts close their eyes and they're in space and they're outside the Earth's protection, cosmic rays will strike their retina even with their eyes closed. And so they will see lights that are initiated by the optic nerve and sent back to the brain. And the brain thinks you're actually looking at sparks, but it's not. It's the retina responding to these radiation particles. So you have to get used to all kinds of things. Gastrointestinal problems can occur, fluid shifts, electrolytes, all sorts of things can go wrong.
Is there a certain amount of radiation they're exposed to?
They are exposed to radiation. Even if you're in an aircraft flying across the country at 38,000 feet, that's the equivalent of a chest X-ray.
I just read that, and they said those who choose the window seat. I'm like, oh, rat.
Well, think about the pilots and flight crew. They're getting small amounts of radiation. Whenever we would launch a space shuttle, and we might have an RTG, a radioisotope thermal electric generator aboard, and until they launch that nuclear reactor into deeper space, they're wearing radiation monitors that will be studied back on Earth to see how much radiation they received. And one of the things about missions with RTGs is that on the first or second day, they want to get that RTG mission launched so it doesn't keep radiating the crew. But there's radiation in space. The Van Allen belts were something that when we were going to the moon, we had to figure out, well, how are we going to go through the least amount of radiation? There's a thing called the South Atlantic anomaly. There's a section over the South Atlantic where there's this ionizing radiation that's sort of in this whole portion of space. And we know not to let astronauts transit through there when they're outside the spacecraft because you travel 7 minutes through the South Atlantic anomaly. You received more radiation than the Skylab guys did in 3 months.
Wow, fascinating.
So, are there any research up there for cancer, the cancer prevalence?
Oh, there's all kinds of studies because we've taken cell types up, watched them divide, and looked at mutations. We've done all kinds of things. We've taken earthworms up, sectioned them, and see when they grow back to worms. We would do some at like day 3 and some at day 7. And was there a difference for how they healed after they'd been exposed to radiation? There's all kinds of research that has been done that virtually nobody knows about, but it's all very important, and it's added a great deal to the knowledge of medicine on Earth. So that's an aspect of the space program that most people never understand, but we've had major breakthroughs by the medical research done in space.
I can imagine the race to which research is going to go up with each mission. I mean, who wins, whose project gets to go up? I think
yes,
it would be interesting, that filtering process.
One of the things we found was that when corporations would spend a bunch of money to send an experiment up, and then they found a breakthrough, well, guess what? It belongs to them when the crew returns, and that corporation can make millions and
Yeah.
millions of dollars
Yeah.
with the breakthrough that they did through research in the space mission. And that's why the International Space Station was so important, because for the space shuttle, you could stay up for 17 days. For the International Space Station, they're circling 365 days a year. They circle the Earth 18 times every day. So they will see
Oh,
18 sunrises and 18 sunsets in a 24-hour period.
wow.
You're traveling over
Yeah.
17,000 miles an hour, 5 miles per second.
Oh my
Dr.
gosh.
Rogers, I interviewed a few surgeons and a few space medicine doctors. You shed a light that I never had. It's a fascinating what you're saying. All those things is really. Now I get into another fascinating video. I watched it for you on LinkedIn. Then there's eyebrows everywhere. Everybody is talking about it.
Yep.
But before that, as I'm a physicist, I have a master's in physics. I'm not a doctor like you. I'm just acting on one here. But the most important is that the physics creates that fundamental questions and fundamental area. I'm going to do 4 or 5 slides. After that, I wanted to come back and ask you what phenomena is so strange. You said that he never revealed anywhere else. So you're going to tell us the first time on our show. So before that, I'm
I
going
may
to
tell you a bunch of stuff
yeah,
people haven't
I'm
heard.
I'm going to introduce you this this concept of blue dot principle that I wrote. Navia, can you bring a blue dot, and then for 10 minutes I'm going to show you this blue dot principle, what it is. I was when I was a kid, I used to go to movies with my father, and in India, in small theaters, always there was a dot there present on the silver screen. I thought, what is wrong with that dot? Why it is coming all? Is some screw there in the is a burn somebody smoke cigarette there and throw it out there. I'm always wondering about that question. Why there is a blue dot every time I go to that movie theater? I see that blue dot. That created a very fundamental question. That blue dot, everything is silver screen. The whole movie is very good. You can do everything, but you can see that blue dot. When I grew up now, I studied masters in physics. I further expanded into the idea of what the blue dot means. I'm going to show you. The blue dot principle can apply in physics everywhere. For example, in the Newtonian physics, for example, in the laws of physics, Newton was the chief scientist, and he was like reigned of science for 200 years. Nobody questioned his knowledge and his equations. Everything, planes, play cars, or anything that mobiles, any motion, that has to follow the Newtonian laws. But one thing, there is anomaly, one blue dot anomaly there. That was Mercury is moving very strange around the sun. It's not following the Newtonian law. It's a perihelion motion, that is they call. It is going there and shifting the motion different. That puzzled a lot of people. That's it. That they try to come up with different answers. Eventually, Albert Einstein saw that fundamentally changes the laws of physics. He said that it is nothing to do with the wrong with the laws. It is fundamentally understanding of gravity itself. Space time is a curvature. It bends the space time. It's like a fabric. You put something there in the fabric, it bends. Space time is like that. It bends and curves. So that bending of space is causing that perihelion motion. So Albert Einstein opened up the new understanding of science through that blue dot, one motion. Newtonian laws applied everywhere in the universe, except one, the Mercury, that did not follow the law. That became a blue dot for the entire science. The entire science he changed. Yeah, and he advanced to the special theory of relativity and the general relativity. That's the blue dot principle. In medicine, there is another. I will tell you in the medicine. In ulcers, a lot of people thought that bacteria would not survive in a highly acidic environments. That's one of the, that's a traditionally people. I don't know that both of them can. know more than me about that, Dr. Rogers and Susan. But acidic environment is not supposed to survive the bacteria. But they found out eventually is all they thought spicy foods, cigarette smoking, alcohol, all kinds of things they thought. But eventually they found out is H. pylori bacteria is causing the infection. That was a very non-traditional thinking. Somebody thought, some doctor, I forgot his name, he found the bacteria there inside the ulcer is causing that infection. So bacteria, so that's why triple combination they do for ulcer treatment. That is a wonderful in the blue dot. So when you question the fundamentals, and you question that some fundamentals are not as fundamental as possible as you think, that is a, for example, third one I can give you another blue dot is the in the when the racial segregation time, the blood was separate from black, brown, my blood and white. They're all separate, segregated the blood. Dr. Charles Drew is a doctor like Dr. Rogers. What he said was, there is nothing, there is no difference. They're all same. So in fact, he resigned for the R&D protested the policy. So a blue dot principle, evidence changes the policy, and the policy agreed. Government changes the policies. Yeah, anybody can donate. The blood groups are the problem. That plasma is same everywhere. For you can use it. So evidence changes. A blue dot. One question. That question is a fundamental assumption when you question that. So a lot of people are talking about UAP, unidentifiable anomalous phenomena, UAP, unidentified flying objects, they call in different ways. As a physicist, what are the important things is missing there? Why we need to pay attention? Where is the blue dot in this UAP, UFO? I can tell you there's three things that question that blue dot principle in the unidentifying. One is the first one. I'm going to talk about this is the inertia. What they found is a UFO or unidentified object moving, changing the direction in instant. If you change a direction, a spacecraft instant direction, the inertial forces are extremely high. The acceleration is so high, the is a fatal g forces, and then immediately the spacecraft gets destroyed, and then any biology that survives won't survive. That is the if you change the direction of the instant direction they observed, some pilots observed the instant direction in the UAP, these spacecrafts. That is a bigger problem. Extreme angular momentum and extreme inertial forces will destroy the aircraft. So that is not a part of physics that we observe here on the Earth. That is strange. That's a one phenomena physics need to confront. The second one, there's some pilots say that they appear and disappear and appear. This is a this is a very interesting aspect of quantum tunneling. Quantum phenomena, macro objects, we never observed quantum phenomena in macro objects. We observed in the micro level, small, electron it comes here, disappears and appears here. Quantum jump is not a real jump. It is appear is a it appears here, disappears and appears here. It doesn't travel. So that's what it's doing here. Some of the pilots mentioned, Dr. Rogers can correct me if I'm wrong, but that they found the one of the thing is quantum tunneling and macro objects are not possible for our physics, for our universe, for that we see. We don't have that. No one has that kind of a technology or understanding the macro level kind of things to behave like quantum objects, like spacecraft cannot exhibit a quantum behavior. That was a big blue dot for us. The third one is the most important one is the seamless air to water. So some of the pilots observed these UFOs moved from air to water. Water is 800 times denser than air. Yes, that going that it goes into with that speed, it goes into pieces. It's a fluid, is a violation of the fluid dynamics. It doesn't follow the laws of the fluid dynamics. It is just these three laws are fundamental that we see anomalous If they are true, what they observe, what they claim to see, if they're true, these three laws are really brewed out for us. We need to question our own reality. Dr. Rogers can spend more about it. The reason was I did that is my my preference is humanities questions are who decided, I'm going to extend this to humanity later on, but I'm going to come back to that later on to you. But let me get back to Dr. Rogers first and take it out that and bring us back, Navya. Um, yes, Dr. Rogers, that is the. I wanted to guide you to the principles of there is no. You asked me something, you're going to say something, very very strange. Yeah, we are that strange phenomena causes the change of law. So we are always welcome. Tell us your story, what you observed, what strangeness you saw
Okay.
in the sport.
First of all, when we make assumptions based on current technology and we say this is the way things are, that turns out to be false when the technology and knowledge increases. If you asked a Roman, how long does it take to get to Egypt? He would say, 3 weeks. We can get on a ship and we can sail. And you'd say, could you get there in 3 hours? No, of course not. That's impossible. Science would not allow it. And then we invent the aircraft, and now it's possible. So a lot of those things that you're discussing, I can recall when we have had breakthroughs in technology, and all of a sudden things that were completely impossible for become possible. So things may seem as though they're impossible, but it's just that we don't understand the technology and the science that's leading to it. So when we say it breaks the laws of physics, no, they don't. It just breaks the laws of our physics.
Well said.
When I got to the space program, I talked to astronauts, and they saw things in space that NASA doesn't want them to tell about. The military does the same thing, and I had my own experience in 1992. I accidentally was shown the video of what I believe to be a reverse engineered UAP that was being flight tested. And it had U.S. Air Force flight insignia on it. So I actually watched an impossible vehicle as it was being tested. And it wasn't even the advanced stuff. This was just our reproduction version of it. But, one thing, since I have brought this kind of information out, I've received, a lot of praise, but criticism. However, one thing I'm going to reveal tonight on your show that I've never revealed before is that I have actually had medical problems that, upon further review, we have set up electronic monitoring devices in our home, and we have tracked interferences with us as biologic beings that were being sent into our home and detected by these devices. In the United States, there's been a number of missing Air Force, NASA scientists at advanced levels that have suddenly gone missing or disappeared or been found dead.
Who is doing
Just a few weeks. I'm sorry?
who is doing this monitoring for this interference? Who is doing that? Do you think?
I'm not going to name the physicist, but it's an advanced physicist who has been hired to do this kind of monitoring for people that I can't say who they are.
Okay.
However, like General McCaslin in New Mexico just walked out his front door and disappeared. There was a JPL woman who had very advanced degrees, was just remarkable. She was hiking on a trail and she disappeared. And we don't have explanations for this. Well, I was going through a sleep study at the hospital. And so I got out at like 4:30 in the morning as I was waiting for my wife to come and pick me up. I had this sudden, the second the dog's coming in, but I had this absolutely amazing idea that I should set down my phone, I should set down my kit bag, and if I would walk into the woods, they would be waiting for me. Everything was going to be warm. Everything was going to be wonderful. And without realizing, I set down my phone in my kit bag and I started to walk away. And then all of a sudden it dawned on me, what on earth am I doing? And I stopped myself, but where that thought process came from, I don't know. I have no desire to harm myself, but I have never, ever had the desire to just leave everything behind and walk into a woods. And when I was talking to the physicist who was doing the monitoring, he said, and some other people from organizations I can't name on air, but they said,
What is the purpose
this was
behind it?
exactly what General McCaslin did. And so to a certain extent, I want to put this out on the airways because I want people to know that I have no intention to do anything like this. And yet, for whatever reason, I nearly became, that 16th or 17th missing person because I had this amazing desire to walk into the woods and keep going. And I felt that everything was going to be fine. And I have no idea where it came from.
What is the purpose of that, you think? Why they want to do? What is? I'm just trying to understand. What is the destination purpose for this whole thing?
I absolutely have no idea. But it happens to people that have advanced degrees, special experiences. And so it's like they're selecting who they want to do this to. It's happened to like 4 different people from the Jet Propulsion Lab in Pasadena. It's happened to highly ranking military personnel, advanced scientists. It's not happening randomly. And so somewhere there's an answer, and I have no idea where that answer is, but I had the idea to just walk off, and I started to do it. I have no explanation for that.
I understand that feeling, Dr. Rogers. I truly understand it. Sometimes you come, being a Hindu that I grew up, one of the things that I learned from Srinivasa Ramanujan, he said that things come to my mind is somewhere I don't even know, comes to that system just pops up. One more thing I wanted to ask you, there is a recent article came in, is that there are materials, they know each other's surroundings. These are all materials and assembling themselves. They know each other, influencing each other. Is that one of the scientists was talking about, very reputable scientist? Have you heard about that?
Those kind of things are being worked on and tested. They've been looked at for a long time. Quantum entanglement is something that is fundamental to the quantum theory. The quantum theory is absolutely confusing. A particle can be in a million different places until you collect it on a device, and where you put the device determines where that atom or electron is going to show up. You can, there's a famous saying by one of the early quantum scientists that if you understand quantum theory, it's because you don't know it well enough.
Richard Feynman says that. Yeah.
Yes. Some of the things are bizarre, and yet we know them to be true. So as a Hindu, it fits better into your world perspective than it does the general American concept, because we tend to think of things as concrete. And yet, the more you study everything in the universe, the more you find out nothing is exactly as it seems.
Yeah, Hindu and physicist. So when you
Yes.
spend your time for, a lifetime studying the laws of physics, something like you're describing, Dr. Rogers, becomes more possible in probably Ramana's mind and maybe many of our audience's mind. So I think sharing that experience, the mind can wonder and wander. Is this what is it? What was the download? What was the antenna? What were you receiving? How did you receive it? How did you stop it? How did you stop the transmission? What in you enabled you to stop the walk?
I don't know. But I know that there are times that I can still sense that I'm being targeted. And, we have graphs to prove it. It's not imagination. And so I want to expose the fact that this is happening. And there are people within the government that know about it, but they don't know what to do about it because they can't stop it. And so a lot of things that we as the citizens of the United States want to be told mystify even the scientists and governmental leaders. And so I think there's probably elements of that is why they are so reluctant to reveal more information, because the more information they reveal, the more questions we're going to ask, and we're going to ask questions that they can't answer.
These materials that they have a knowledge of each other, a metals, or some kind of a known, they know where they are at, what they're doing, they have a purpose. That's a very strange phenomena for metals and materials. And then that means we are not that special. And then what is that connecting us to the universe? And you have some idea about life and death in that direction?
Our concepts of life and death and what we know have been so varied down through the centuries and thousands of years because of what our minds could conceive of. At one point, Galileo said, I don't think the sun is circling the earth. I think the earth is circling the sun. And because that was deemed so radical, his life was put on the line. He had to denounce it. And he wrote things that weren't released until after he was dead. What are we willing to do in our governments, in our hierarchies, in order to preserve what seems to be the status quo, even when the status quo has been proved to be wrong?
Yeah. Beautiful.
And so we know these things are happening, but because they can't be explained, we will not talk about them.
Navia, while
They give us credit for.
yeah, Navia, while Susan is talking, can you bring the last slide? Last slide on my presentation.
No, I was just saying, Ramana, I think we're tougher than they give us credit for. And, often we ourselves have to admit when we don't know. We have to be able to admit when we don't know and be open to what is being downloaded, regardless of what's the source. So go ahead, Ramana.
Susan, just you always taught me, you teachers, I learned quite a bit from you, actually, these kind of things. The work, for example, who decided that, these are the fundamental questions. A lot of people, AI taking over jobs. Who said that you have to work 9 to 5, Monday to Friday? Who came up with this idea? This is like we take as a fundamental assumption that we lose jobs because you didn't work for 9 to 5. This is the fundamental assumption we can apply the blue dot principle everywhere. Here is one of them I'm telling you about work. Who decided that you productive work must be 9 to 5 and shift based? These are all the fundamental assumptions we need to question that. Success and reward. So we decided not the that success must be measured primarily in money. Who said that? Why is success to be measured only in the primarily through money? That was another question we need to raise as humanity. To progress, why can't progress to measure by kindness and compassion and profit? I'm not saying that you need to leave capitalism. You can create even a mathematical function for all of them that I mentioned. You can create actual functions, mathematical structures, a technology structure you can create to follow that rules. So we are really missing the blue dot principle in that sense. What Dr. Rogers said, that fundamental assumptions. Take it out. That Navia is okay. I don't need that slide anymore. But Dr. Rogers, your wisdom is profound. I believe everything you say. Because um, as a physicist, I am a practical. Everything you said is touches me in every way. We are really missing something, that are not questioning fundamentals are missing. We are not questioning those fundamentals. Susan, you take on a couple of minutes on that one. You can say anything 1 minute.
No, I just know that, that we are entirely as a world coming together in ways that we haven't before. We're falling apart in ways we've never fallen before, and at the same time coming together in ways that we had never had before. We all watched, and we're closing out here, but we all watched Three Eye Atlas and watched its behavior. You didn't have to know anything about space to notice that was strange. There's all kinds of strange things. Dr. Rogers' stories, there's things that we all know are out there, and we deserve and want to know more. It's human nature to want to know more. We are a curious species. We want and should, and we will continue to evolve and learn more. So I really appreciate, Dr. Rogers, you sharing your experiences with us. It's our fundamental right as humans to know, always to have that door of curiosity open, regardless of really, unknown outcomes. Like you said, 3 weeks to get from A to B, and now we can do it in 3 hours. Who knows what's behind that next comment?
That's
Comet. In fact, when did we go from UFOs to UAPs? What happened to our UFOs?
So, Dr. Rogers, you spread such a wisdom and knowledge, and of course the fundamentals. I think I appreciate your boldness and coming out. I have no problem understanding anybody. Why are you? There are some people who said that, why are you bringing a controversial people? He's not a controversial to me. You know, Dr. Rogers is a well distinguished physician, and he earned his respect, and everything he says, I'm going to follow him. That is. Thank you so much. It's truly an honor. I give you a last word. What do you want to say about humanity? What we need to learn from people like you? What we all need to learn?
Uh, I'll just close by saying we're not as smart as we think we are. When we try to put limits on the universe,
Yes.
we're just showing our foolishness, because the universe is going to show us that we were wrong.
Thank you, sir. We want you to come back. You can. You're always our favorite guest for us. I can tell you today. Thank you so much. It's truly an honor to have you. I, I,
Honor
I,
is ours.
Well, you ask me and I'll be back.
Thank you, sir. We
Fantastic.
enjoy talking with you. Thank you so much for joining with us.